Hello, YouTube. This is Piss and Moan, and this is the actual start because I didn't swear this time. This is the not Deadpool review, so I figured dropping an F bomb in the first 5 seconds is probably not a good idea.
You never know, man.
Yeah, those Disney fanboys, all about them.
What we could do, we could exercise the same level of censorship Disney does in most of their movies, or we could go the complete opposite direction and pull for as much controversy as possible and try and get banned from certain countries so that we can build up our own viewership. You know, because that's what they do with those overly violent video games.
Oh, yeah.
The only way they make money is through controversy.
You mean like the school shooting simulator that just got released?
I didn't know there was a new one.
Yeah, legit, play as the cops or as the school shooter or as a civilian. Like, legit school shooter, the simulation video game. Like,
I'm going to try not to think about that right now.
Anyways. That's America. The negatives of freedom of speech.
Speaking of piles of corpses.
So
is that too much of a weird preamble? You know,
a little weird. So Avengers Infinity War is the movie we're going to review today.
I suppose people went into this movie knowing people were going to die, so they can't complain.
Well, it took all of 5 seconds into the movie to establish it. Probably one of my biggest complaints. That was a horrible start.
Well, because my Facebook status afterward was, 5 minutes is about the fastest I've clocked the F out of a Marvel movie.
And when we watched it together, I was like, oh, yep, I see right where he did, and I can see why. And I feel they recovered from it, but that was not a strong start to a movie at all. I think it was one of the worst starts. No, it may be the single worst start to a Marvel movie, period. I really disliked that start. And by the end, it meant absolutely nothing because...
Well, I mean, from the beginning, it meant absolutely nothing. Because that's the whole point, is... by doing what they did, you realize the movie means nothing. It means one of two things. It means either A, they don't give a crap about character arcs,
or
B, none of this is going to matter.
There's no stakes.
Yeah.
And we're pretty convinced it's B. There are no stakes.
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time Marvel actually bet anything and lost in one of their movies? And this goes back to the previous video, is Marvel stopped improving in Winter Soldier when things stopped having consequences.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you lose the entirety of S.H.I.E.L.D. in Winter Soldier. And they try to one-up it in Civil War by the Avengers are no longer... And it means nothing.
Yeah.
It doesn't change anything. Everyone comes back and fights again. I mean,
there's no real hard feelings. I mean, Tony won't give a phone call, and that's about the extent.
And he's not on the same planet as everyone else for most of the movie.
Yeah, well, we can't deal with this, so we'll just remove him from the plot, so we don't have to deal with that.
Yeah, I mean, there's no interaction at all between Tony and Steve, and
so while I agree with you that I don't disagree with you. But I think some of the cool things about this movie is taking what it had and doing what it did with it. To take a movie that has, no less than 12 main characters, all of which have had own independent movies or could have their own independent movies. I mean, talk about a huge cast of significant characters that you have to manage. Handing 3 or 4 of them.
Got a cast list in it's not here.
It's going to be out of control.
Well, fine. Don't work. See if I care. That's fine. Let's get 1, 2, 3, 4. We can skip Scarlet. We can skip Don Cheadle. Benedict. So 3, 5.
So there's
Holland,
30
6.
main characters, not all of which could be in their own video. But if you take that by a third and just have 10... main characters, that is brutal. I mean, Thor, Iron Man.
How is he this
Captain
high
America.
On the damn casting list? Well, I suppose, how is he this high? How is she this high?
Whatever. Yeah, Nebula, right?
It's...
I still
feel... so we can get into spoilers. Let's put it this way. The point is, the movie is either... 0 stakes, or they are so controlled by their finances and contracts of with actors that they don't care what they do with their characters anymore.
We'll just end arcs for no reason.
It's just the point. We can't afford to keep you in these movies, so rather than complete your character, we will end it.
I don't understand where there's character arcs that are just ignored. It's the Akbar effect, where a character that was important,
significant and liked by
isn't even mentioned where they'd have to have been. The Valkyrie stands out to me. I don't want to get into spoilers yet, but that really stood out to me as just really disrespectful.
Yeah, they pick up seconds after the end of Ragnarok, and it all plays out like Ragnarok
didn't happen. Yeah, at all.
Yeah.
Maybe they had the same opinion of it as you did.
Maybe. But that's still not what
right, I know. But I don't think that's I don't disagree with you, but I don't feel that that's where this movie ends. They take it from there and turn it into this, 3-story arced movie with a incredibly well-written villain, in my opinion, who they give a ton of screen time to.
Thanos is probably the best part of the movie. I will admit to that.
And the big thing I like to say about this movie, and I don't think it's spoilers, the main character of this movie is Thanos. And I'll get into that more in the spoiler section, but this is kind of a uniquely written story. For what they have, it's impressive. Is it great? Is it the best movie of the year? That's a bit of a stretch. But for what it is, I think it is unique, and I don't think I've seen a movie do what they did in this. In a number of different aspects, which I think is impressive.
No, I suppose the closest was probably League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and that didn't do very well.
No.
Yeah, well, and that's the reason Sean Connery is no longer in Hollywood, so.
I mean, think about how many arcs there are. There's the Tony arc that happens, completely independent of everyone else. There's the Thor arc, which is independent of everyone else. And then there's the Captain America, or I'd say Vision arc. There's 3 separate stories all traveling to the same end goal.
But how interesting.
And the Thanos. Like I said,
you could have cut Thor out of the movie and it wouldn't have made a difference.
But he's the guy. His arc,
there's no arc. He goes to.
Oh yeah. There's no character growth there. That's because he's not the main character.
I don't know. Can we get into spoilers so we can talk about spoilers, please?
Well, let's start with our review, our rating. I think 90% is too high for this. I just don't think it was that great. Was it good? Good. Not great. It's great for what it was, but not that great of a movie. I'm giving it... I'm going to be generous and give it an 8 out of 10. Same rating I give Deadpool, or maybe slightly better than Deadpool. I'll give it better than Deadpool. Give it an 8.
Here's what I will do. I will take the score 10 and subtract 1 point for each of the named characters from a previous movie that die off in the first 5 minutes. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5.
Now, does it count if you don't see him die off?
Yes.
Okay. Because we don't know that they died off. Yeah, we're assuming.
There's corpses. Well, I suppose.
Take one off.
It would be too expensive to...
Take one off.
No.
Give it the 6.
No, because Marvel doesn't care, so why should I care?
You know what?
It's the same thing with the death of Thor's best friends in the beginning of Ragnarok. Thor didn't care, so why should we care?
I think it's
it should mean something to Thor, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
All these deaths should mean something to the movie, but they don't.
I give it a little bit more credit because they literally just kill him off in Thor. No at all. They literally spend 5-10 seconds on the screen. This one they at least die fighting and Thor is upset. So I'll give it,
Okay.
I give
Fine, I will give it 6.
Woo! It's a win.
There you go.
Win in my book.
Fine, you can have fine.
Because I'm gonna drop mine down to 7.
And actually, I'll give the point back for the unexpected returning villain cameo that I did not see coming and actually really liked.
You'll have to remind me in spoilers to which that was, because I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I really liked I'm starting to stop. Think about my my rating scale. With 5 as average, do I really think that this is an 8? It's a 7 or 8 for me, but it's not a solid. It's a weak 7 or 8. It's a 7 or it's a weak 8. That's all I've got for it.
All right.
It's worth seeing just to experience it because it's so different from anything else. But, okay, spoilers.
Yeah, that's fair.
Spoilers. The first 5 freaking seconds are the most bullshit.
But just to throw in before we start, the character Red Skull.
Oh yes, I did like that. That
Yes.
was really good.
I enjoyed the Red Skull being brought back. But no.
That was such a cool cameo. Like I was so unexpected, really cool.
Yep, that was one of my favorite parts of the movie. But moving on, the first 5 minutes. Screw the first 5 minutes of that movie. Like,
I feel like you could rate it up a point by itself if you didn't have the first 5 minutes. And like the whole, not even the first 5 minutes, the whole first scene on that spaceship makes no sense. The handling of Hulk through the whole movie made no sense.
Oh, I forgot about Hulk. No.
Take a retroactive point off for the Hulk.
No, you already made me put one back for Red Skull.
I hate what they did with the Hulk. He's my favorite Marvel character, and
no, I will not fight in this movie because the fight would be over too quickly if I was doing anything in this movie.
yeah, Thanos can just kick my butt because we don't want to have to deal with that.
Yeah, we can't have... Well, and again, that's a problem with my movie. Problem with this movie is you can see several different places that aren't even disguised as ways they could have beat Thanos without having to resort to half the universe die. They go out of their way to show a scene where they cut off somebody's hand using a portal. And, like, this didn't occur to you as a way to beat Thanos?
Just cut his hand off. Clean at the wrist. No snapping now, jerk.
Can't snap fingers if you don't have fingers.
But, complaining aside, I really like what they did with Thanos. A great character arc. I hated how they handled Gamora, but the more I look back on it, the more she's not the main character and Thanos is, and it's...
No, but her death means nothing either, because...
Yeah.
What point does Peter Quill have as a character without Gamora now?
Yeah. And that's the worst part I think about it, is without a doubt, everyone's going to pull back alive. I think the only concern is that it might be that only people killed through a reality stone may come back.
Well, then that leaves Loki and Gamora. And
no, Gamora would be...
She was pushed off the cliff and broke her neck. She's dead.
But I think the idea is that she was immediately transferred into the Soul Gem as part of that sacrifice.
Her body was laying there after he
But you see her like in the one of the big fan theories on the internet is you see her with that like shaded color as a little kid in his mind, and that's her still trapped in this gem. Okay. I don't know if I believe any of that crap.
But, and
Loki is the big one that stands out to me.
I want to complain about that because I never liked Loki. I never cared about Loki or his arc.
I think he's overrated.
People are like, oh,
he's very one-dimensional.
He's the best villain Marvel has. Yeah, because Marvel has garbage villains.
I wouldn't even say he's the best Marvel villain.
In the movies. I mean...
Thanos is definitely the best now, but...
Loki is...
Mandarin for number 2.
That was fun.
I loved the Mandarin. That was a horrible movie, but I loved the Mandarin. Well, the actual villain was trash, but the Mandarin was phenomenal.
Because there are one-shot villains that I do like that I wish they did more. Because I liked the villain in Red Skull was fun, and I mean he's over-the-top Nazi, but the actor was great. The way he built Captain America's character was great. I liked Red Skull. I liked the villain in Doctor Strange too, and it might be just because I like that actor. No.
Oh, okay.
What's his face? Burned Eyes guy.
Yeah.
But I felt like he was better established as a character than most of the villains in any Marvel movie. And but the point is, I never cared for Thor or Loki. Loki was just another character. He was a whiny dude, but chronic backstabber syndrome. But his only purpose in this movie is to die to show you how serious the next villain is. It's another superhero movie staple. The way to introduce the next bad guy and make them seem scarier is to have them kill off the previous bad guy. And
I think now that we're talking about it, I think the villain in Thor Ragnarok of what's his name? Not the lady, but the guy who controls the slave planet.
Oh, not Collector. It's the other guy. He's I
can't remember
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. I feel he was a much better villain than stupid sister was.
Well, he was a much more interesting character than the sister was.
He also melted someone, which was way cooler than anything. Whoa! That's pretty graphic now that I think back on that. That was hardcore.
I've tried to erase that movie from my memory.
There's some good bits in there. The Valkyrie. Jeff
more
Goldblum.
Alcoholic than Vimes.
Oh, no one's going to get that.
Hey, man.
Of our 12 viewers.
Oh, I suppose.
Yes, Dan will get it. Maybe.
No, probably not.
No.
But to me, killing Loki off, especially, I don't know if that was supposed to be the conclusion to his arc, where he's trying to backstab someone for Thor. No, that's just Loki being Loki.
Yeah, it's literally just what he does.
It's not a conclusion to an arc. It's killing him off so we can introduce the next big villain.
And maybe killing him off. That's what's this because they killed so many people off. They wrote out the stakes. It really lowered the stakes. I mean, I understand why they did it, and it really threw me for a loop. I was not expecting that. For a movie of surprises, like this was a movie of surprises for me.
It wasn't for me because I'm like, okay, Loki's gonna die off. The surprise was, wow, this early and this is how they do it.
I was surprised by that. I meant the very end. The fact that they killed off so many people. That surprised me.
And that meant nothing to me too, because at least one of them has a sequel already planned.
I'm not saying that there was any stakes. I'm saying it was a surprise. I did not expect that to be the conclusion. I thought this was the movie, not a part one.
No, that's another problem I have. It's over publicized production schedules. Is I knew this was part one going in.
Really? Because
because they were originally supposed to be two movies: Infinity Wars Part 1 and Part 2, and then they decided to change. Yeah, that was the plan back in the day. Whenever they do their big PowerPoint presentations, it was always in the timeline. Yeah, Doctor Strange, Black Panther, blah blah blah. Infinity Wars Part 1 and 2. And, yeah, but I was hoping it would be a self-contained story, because that's where Marvel movies really shine, is when they're a self-contained story and not an incorporation or throwback or reference or set up for additional movies. And that's why Black Panther is the best thing to come out since Winter Soldier for me.
I struggle with Black Panther. When I think if you rewatch it, you're going to like it less.
I've watched it 2 or 3 times.
Have you really? There's some really stupid stuff in that. When that car freaking explodes and she slides.
Oh, God, no, I hate that part. Screw that part.
So dumb.
I complained about that the first time around.
God, that was dumb.
But...
And there's similar things in here, though. Like, speaking of that, like... Black Widow has no place in these things combat. Like, she's fighting with something that's literally duking it out with...
Oh, that reminds me of another complaint I had. Sexually segregating the fight scene at the end. Where it was, all the women are fighting the women bad guys.
Oh.
And
I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that
made me angry. We're all supposed to be together as a team. Show people working together. Don't... And maybe I'll get torn apart by somebody for this, but it didn't feel very... I hesitate to use the word progressive, but
it felt
it felt too highlighted for me to really make...
It felt too contrived.
Yes. Yeah, because you're in a war in the middle of a field.
It's a freaking, like, zoo of everyone fighting anything.
And somehow all the women combatants end up in one spot fighting the evil woman combatant. And
for me, some of the heroes, like... like in Avengers, they handled the fact that Hawkeye's a silly guy with a bow, and Natasha Romanoff has some pistols. They handled that. They handled that within the universe, and it made sense. Their powers made sense to what they did.
Yeah.
And this time, she's duking it out with someone that's literally the descendant of a freaking god of war. Like, these are the people that duke it out with Thor and the Hulk, and go toe to toe. And here's just
Black
Natasha,
Widow
with her little zappy fists,
whatever,
blocking her the attacks from this thing that can launch people through the air. It just doesn't. Gets me past my ability to believe.
Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, it kills my suspension of disbelief.
It's
And she's the only one that really happened to in this movie for me, but it was silly.
And
use her the way she should be.
Another thing that reminded me of is coming back to this will seem out of nowhere. Mission Impossible 6. Superhero movies have been ruining Mission Impossible 6 this year. Both superhero universes have been infected by Mission Impossible 6. Because you've got Batman versus Superman, where the $1 million mustache, they had to edit out his mustache for reshoots in Justice League, not Batman versus Superman. And the $1 million mustache. And then in this movie, Hawkeye could not be in Mission Impossible 6 due to shooting conflicts with the Avengers movies, is what it says.
Wait, was he in this movie?
He was not in this movie for a second. He got a throwaway line, he's taking care of his family or something. And he's not even in this movie. Like, what the hell? And I know people are like, oh, Hawkeye, he's useless. I actually like Hawkeye.
Me too. I really like Natasha for the same reason.
Mm-hmm. It's always fun to picture these two everyday kind of government agent people in the world of superheroes.
Going back to Deadpool, my favorite character was definitely, what was it, Steve?
Rain.
It was great up until they killed him.
Well, yeah, because that's all they could really do with a character like that. But
got it exactly the amount of screen time he needed, and it was perfect. Loved him.
Lost train of thought. Before Mission Impossible 6, before
Natasha,
before the contrived fight scene.
The actors, I feel, all did really good.
Yes, I love
Spider-Man's phenomenal.
Yeah, Spider-Man's great. I love Captain America every time. I don't care how bland of a superhero he is. The fact that he just does the right thing because it is the right thing to do really gets to me every time. I mean, because you're sitting there thinking it makes perfect logical sense to just let a Vision die, and Captain's like, no, he gets to live. We can do it, so we will do it. And to me, that's like, yes, that's the right thing. That's what I like it when characters in movies do what I would do. We'll put it that way.
What you hoped you'd do.
Yeah, what I'd hope to be able to do. They make the decision I'd be able to make, or I'd make whether or not I'd be able to make it. It's all the more frustrating for how pointless it is in the long run.
I struggle to see how they could have handled the first 5 minutes. There's so many ways they could have handled that better. I won't try and defend that in any way, shape, or form. But the lack of stakes, I mean, for an overarching plot, you really have to change it in a huge way to not have the stakes not mean anything.
Well, yes, but they could have gone less over the top in certain places to make it blatantly obvious that there were no stakes. Like the scene with the Guardians where Thanos is trying to bait Peter into shooting Gamora. He diced up all the other Guardians of the Galaxy, and you're like, well, there is no conflict here. Whatever's happening, Peter Quill's not going to be able to shoot Gamora, even if he does pull the trigger. The emotion is removed from the scene because it's a foregone conclusion, and they go.
For me, it was more so the will he actually do it? Like, does he have the heart? Because Captain America wouldn't do it. There's no question there. It was more of a question of character for me. and whether Thanos would let him, because it was 100% in Thanos' hands, like you said.
Well, and it was 100 to me. It was 100% no. Thanos would not let him. I mean,
yeah, I kind of agree.
It's because the secret to his all-powerful global or universe-wide domination is in his hand. Is he going to let the puny human right there kill him? No.
Well, not kill him, kill her. But the idea, like, what if he didn't think he had the heart to do it? What if he does it and then he has to turn back time? I don't think he had the power to do that at that point. But it could have gone a different way, I see there, but I don't know. I didn't have too much of a problem with that one. Like, if they had kept the needless killing to that and Gamora, and that's it, I feel they would have really had something there. Yeah. If they had cut out all that bull at the beginning, the stakes would have been so much higher for the length of the story.
They could have done something differently just to remove those actors from the movie.
Have him escape and just have Loki vanish into the ether like he always seems to do. Like,
well, and I feel like it's because they didn't know what else to do with Thor's character either. Because all he does is sit and be moody and go build a hammer. That's his entire arc in the movie.
He gets like blasted with sun power.
Yeah, as a result of depression and being moody. And Groot was
Yeah, I don't like teenage Groot.
I'm done with Groot in general. It's because
I really liked Groot, but teenage Groot was a little difficult to get behind.
Well, if you want to get really nitpicky, Groot was supposedly the last of his species, but Thanos still wiped him out for some reason.
Oh, yeah, that wouldn't make a lot of sense. Maybe a lot of those little saplings from where he exploded have been repopulating, and there's more of him back home on that. I like that idea. I think there's a lot of places they could have improved here, but for what they have, they did make a good movie. If I think about it, of the movies that are going to come out this year, this thing was above average.
The problem for me is there are places I can poke holes everywhere in this movie.
Yeah, but that's usually the case with superhero movies.
And that is, again, that's my problem. It's why I'm sick of superhero movies. Is I can't get them to hold up to more than surface level observation.
And that's why I struggle to see if I like this or Black Panther more. They have so many holes in them. Like, for what they are of the superhero genre, they are by far the best ones that have come out so far. Like, since Infinity War, definitely these two stand leaps and... not Infinity War. Winter Soldier, thank you. Like, Avengers, Winter Soldier, original Iron Man, and then these two are like... Oh, sorry, Captain America.
You don't have to say
I look back on fondly. I do have very fond... Like, every time you talk about it makes me like it more, in retrospect.
It was, like I say every time, it was a movie that was able to turn what I thought was a propaganda machine into a enjoyable, understandable superhero.
That's how good they are at propaganda.
But it can poke holes all the time. Like, the whole Doctor Strange looking at visions of the future. How many do we succeed in? One. Bullshit. That's a cop-out.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, swearing.
It's okay. We've sworn once or twice already. Actually, I said the same one, I think. It was about the first 5 minutes, though, instead of that. Even more. The other one is like the Uganda? No, what's the country?
Wakanda.
Wakanda, thank you. The Wakanda military makes no sense to me. Like, for this... Like, where are all those super fancy high-tech weapons they were going to distribute to the rest of the world to use in combat? Like, their combat fighting force is literally like women with swords and spears. Like, it doesn't make much sense to me. There's lots of holes to be poked.
Yeah. Well, and for a minute, instead of poking holes, I'd like to compliment a couple things. I really liked the Doctor Strange and Tony Stark dynamic.
Oh, phenomenal. Although they left out a Sherlock Holmes reference.
That bugged me too. Caveats with everything. But yeah, they did not make a single Sherlock Holmes reference, and I was very mad.
The relationship between Tony and Spider-Man has turned into something really kind of special that I'm impressed with. Like Tony doing this father figure begrudgingly and frustratedly,
Well,
and
I'm so sick of Tony in general.
I still love him. I hate him as a character, but I love him. Well, no, I hate him as like a person. I would not like him as a person, but he's so well written.
Yeah, and that's my. No, that's not my thing, because I can think of plenty of people I would hate if I met in person, but I love them as a character.
He's really well written. He's a really well done character. I don't like him, and I would definitely be Team Captain America. I think that goes without saying. I feel that's the only right position to take. God, why'd they treat Hulk so badly? And if you're going to have Hulk fight in the battle in a Hulk suit, why not just have him be Hulk? Like, why?
So you can sell more Hulkbuster toys?
Stupid. And Thanos just kicks his butt at the start. That, and then there we don't talk about it, and then flip him, shoot him away. Like, I don't think Hulk has lost a fight in this universe yet.
Yeah, and maybe that's the big thing. Because it felt like that's the big thing they were trying to get at. But Hulk has also displayed that he cares about his friends. And his friends are literally dying in front of his eyes. And no, I'm grumpy.
And of all the people to save, like, he would prioritize saving the Hulk over, Thor. There's a lot of holes to be poked. I don't think it was a bad movie. I think it was one of the better ones, honestly, for what they had. I think they had a heck of a challenge doing what they did. I'm impressed they came out with what they did.
The more we talk, the less angry I'm getting at it, even though I keep poking holes in it.
I can't disagree. There's a lot of holes to be poked, but the final product is dang impressive. And what a good villain. And they're really short on good villains in Marvel.
God, that was good. I'll keep referring to him by his actor name, Andy Serkis in Black Panther.
There's a good one.
I hope to have as much fun doing something as he does playing that role. Hanging on to the side of the car, blasting out. Let's play some music. Yeah, this isn't a tragedy.
It's great.
But there's another villain we just throw away to show the better villain.
Yeah. Yeah, they handled that poorly now that you mentioned that. I just like that they killed him off the way they did. Missed out on a real golden opportunity. Even though they had a good villain, they didn't need to handle him the way they did.
No. He could have escaped it. Well, no, because he was the ticket into Wakanda.
He didn't need to be. He just had to show that he was Wakandan. Like, he was Wakandan. He had the ring. Like, he was the prince. Like, there's no reason he had
that's more of his ticket into the throne room rather than just onto the land.
He had a right. They're very rule-abiding. I'd say at best what that did was really showed him to be, like give him cred.
Actually, no. It was to turn his... turn Black Panther's best friend kind of on him.
But how could he know that? That's a heck of a logical jump to get that far for the future Civil War that's coming.
Well, it's for the purpose of the contained story, rather than.
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. I just don't like that they did it, and I don't think they had to.
And that's something I could argue for making logical sense in the universe, as opposed to a lot of the things in Infinity War.
Yeah. Like teleporting Hulk. Not killing Thor. Okay, any words of wisdom for the viewers?
No.